So you've continued through your research and you've got to the point where you have unlocked advanced logistics down here, which gives you access to many different triggers here, many different logistic blocks, or as they're called actually in the build menu, compute blocks, this tab here. There are a lot here, and I will be completely honest with you, some of these down the bottom confuse me a little bit, but hopefully I'll be able to figure them out as we go. I'm going to start from the top and go down. I don't think I'm going to get through all of them in one video. I might split this up a bit, but we will see. Starting with the top, the toggle. The toggle is by far the simplest logic block there possibly is. It is exactly what it says on the tin. It toggles. When you put it down, you can click on it, and down the bottom right you can turn it on and off, or you can choose to control click on it to turn it on and off manually, and it literally controls things like a toggle. So if, for instance, we link it to this barrier gate, and we do that by selecting the object and clicking it, and it adds a link. You see when you mouse over, the large end's down here and the small end's up there. If you ever accidentally connect one together, like you can do the reverse as well, which you might not want to do, you can just click the original one and click the toggle and it will turn it off, and you've only got the one link in there now. And as you can see, if we then toggle it on and off, it will not work. Hold on. There we go. Okay, so toggling it here doesn't actually change its status, but it doesn't actually change its doesn't trigger its ability, I should say. That's just the initial state. But if you control click on it, you can see it toggles on or off a little barrier gate just there. So, dead simple. I didn't actually quite know about turning it on and off there. It doesn't do that, but obviously that doesn't trigger it. You can hear when I'm pushing that button, there's no click, whereas when I control click it, it does seem to go. Something else to note as well, if you have it selected and try and control click, it won't do it. You have to cancel it off. You can't right click or left click, you've got to push escape to cancel the logic block. Then you click it and it will fire. Okay, so the next block. The next one in the list is the inventory sensor, and this is very similar to the agent trigger, but we'll get to both of them. The inventory sensor is a block that detects inventories. It detects them inside buildings and also it doesn't detect them inside carts or trains or anything like that at all. It only detects it inside buildings or on belts as well. Belts and chutes, you can detect them. This block here, put it down, and in the top right corner you've got an offset and an item filter. The offset is basically where you want it to check. You can put these down on top of a belt and they will just detect whatever's underneath them. Or you can put them off to one side, which is a lot cleaner and easier to see, and click the offset and you can choose what block you want to go to. So if we say this silo here, boom, and we say, hey, in the item filter, he says, there you go. It will say stone block. So if this has stone in it, this is going to become true. Now we can't link it to the toggle block because a toggle just switches between true and false every time it receives a signal. So if I link that, it will just switch between true and false over and over and over. And that's because this is detecting true, so it's sending a signal, and the toggle just knows to switch between on and off. That's it. So you can't really control things via toggles. It is doable in some situations, but generally you don't have the toggle in the middle. You link the block directly to the barrier gate, for instance, and you see this is true because this is true. So and because this has stone inside it, it's saying it's true. So true is gate open. If we were to close this barrier gate, then allow this to filter down. Let's speed it up by putting in some magic conveyors, shall we? Just speed the process up a bit, and you see it's still saying true all the way through until this eventually will run out of stone, and because it doesn't have any stone in it, this will become false, and you should see that gate drop down, which will be now. There you go. It went false, this is empty, it dropped down, so it blocked 3 of them off there. This can be useful for well, it's more useful if you invert the signal, which we will get to with the Bool function, which is very, very powerful block. But essentially, with the inventory sensor, you can say, hey, if this silo hasn't got any stone in it, then open the gate up. Say, for instance, you open this gate up here and allow stone to go through. So we get stone in it. And then once it's got stone in it, you turn it off and block it off. It's a good way to have it so you don't fill all your belts up with things, or you don't completely empty one storage with another one. So if you wanted to have some here, say for instance this silo here went off into multiple places, you just have, you know, say only come up here if this doesn't have any, so it can get some there. It also works the other way around. If I was to turn this into wood, for instance, and then open this gate here, these, you see it's firing, but because these are stone inside there, it's saying false because it's not wood. So if it detects the item in the item filter, it's true. If it doesn't, it's false. If you don't have an item filter, it just detects any item at all, which I can also show you. If I change the offset to being there, for instance, now it's not going to trigger because there's no block there at all. We set this to none, and then we open this gate. You see it's firing, and it's firing and staying true because that barrier gate is open. If we close that, and then this runs out, which is, yeah, it's going to take a while to do. Well, we can stop that by turning it around. It's it's not going to trigger because it doesn't detect an inventory. So it's just, it doesn't fire because the block hasn't changed. So not very useful, but I don't even think that would work if you set it to stone, actually, now I think about it. Give it a try. So stone, stone, stone is true, but it never gets a false because it never reads anything apart from stone. Empty spaces just aren't read. So if there was a bit of wood on there, it would then read false because it's wood and it would stop the barrier gate. So useful if you've got offsets of things. If just very simply, if you had a something like this, for instance, with another, just for argument's sake, we'll put in a crate. Like that. So you could say, well, hey, if it's stone, I want it to go this way. If it's not stone, we want it to go. If it's stone, we want it to go straight on. If it's not stone, we want it to go this way. So we can change the inventory one to go there. And I'm not really sure how I'm going to do this. Oh, I've got. Conveniently, I did come prepared. We have water. So what I'm going to do is now ironically turn these to cloth conveyor belts, because it's easier to see when it's travelling slower. So if I turn this way, and we're going to put 2 lumps of water on there, and then we'll turn this one back round the last stone. You see, that went false. That went to being, hey, it's false because it's not stone. So close the barrier gate, and then you'd have to have some way of getting this go this way here. This would have worked better with chutes, but then water can't go on chutes. But you get what I mean. It's detected this is not stone. Its offset is set to this block here. It's not stone, so it's gone false. It's closed the gate. That will stop any water coming down and blocking up this one here that we only want to have stone in it. So to get rid of that, we'd have to, using the move tool, clear it or somehow figure out a way to get it off the gate there. But clear that, and then there you go. It's now going to go through and will be true because this is all stone, which is awesome. Okie dokie. Right. So that's the inventory sensor. A very, very useful block, but becomes much more useful with the next block. The next block is the Bool function, and this is probably one of the most useful blocks, compute blocks of all times. It's basically, so far all we've done is a true or false signal. The Bool function allows you to combine things. And we can go through it piece by piece here. If we start at the top, so on the Bool function here in the top right corner, you've got the logic type. You have an AND gate, an OR gate, NOT gate, an N AND gate, an N OR gate, and an XOR gate. Now, to go through these one by one, sorry, I was just looking up some here. I know what they all do, but I don't know the explanation for them. I don't know how to put it in words. I know how it works in my head because I've used them several times and it makes sense in my head. But we'll go through them, and I shall, on my other monitor here, go through my reference points here. If you ever want to know anything more about how logic gates work up, just Google it and you'll find logic gates on Wikipedia. They're mainly used in electronics, but this is exactly the same thing. We are essentially building circuits here. So we'll start with the AND gate, for instance. An AND gate is exactly what it says. If all the inputs are true, the output will be true. So, for instance, if I was to go, we'll set both these to stone, because that's what we're dealing with at the moment. So stone and stone. And we'll link this gate to there, and we'll link those to this one here, like that. Not the other way around, so you go the inventory sensors to the Bool function, and the Bool function out to the gate. Then we will go offset U and offset U. Okay, so at the moment it's false, and it's not going to trigger at all because we need to send a block through. So there you go. Right, it's triggered false because although this one is going to be true, because you can see here this is this has stone inside it. In fact, let me jump ahead just a little tiny bit here, and we'll grab the logic lamp. Now, logic lamp is a very, very simple block that basically changes color when it's true. So if I also link these, you can link compute blocks or logic blocks to multiple places. If I link that there, then you'll basically see red means false and green, I believe, will mean true. There we go. Okay. Blue means true. So there we go. Right. So they're both true, and now this Bool function has become true. And they are true because this one is looking for stone, and it's finding stone in here. And this one is looking for stone and finding it in there. Now, if I shut this gate, this is going to run out and become false. And even though one is true, because that is true, this one is false, and because both inputs are false, both inputs are not true, the output is false. So hopefully that makes sense. You can have as many inputs as you like, and well, you can have as many outputs as you like, but all the inputs are added together and all the outputs are just the same. So in this situation here, one false with an AND gate will mean true. The AND means that everything behind it must be. So this one and this one must be true for the output to be true. Now the OR function, next one, which is the one that it defaults to, is sort of the opposite to AND. It's that if any input is true, then the output will be true. So right now we've got one true and one false, and if we let this go, it will become true because this one is true. Even though this one's false, it does that. Any OR. So OR means this one or that one, or if you had 10 of them, or this or that, the other. Any OR gate means true. If any input is true, the output will be true. If both the inputs were false, then it would trigger as a false one because this is not here. So if I was to change that offset to, well, we'll change it to, we'll change it that one as well. We'll open this and then close it again. And you'll see they both turn false because obviously it's not reading that now and it's false. But if we then switch that one back down here, and remember when you switch it, it won't do anything until there is a change in the inventory here, either a block in or block out. We'll open and close that, and it will trigger once as it goes in, becomes true, and away it goes. The next statement is the NOT gate. Now this is the one that always confused me because it's an inverted signal, if that makes sense. It doesn't really work with multiple inputs because it gets a little confused by them. At least I believe it does. So if I'll unlink that one for it. So we're not using the top one, we're just using the bottom one now. So this is all true, and then the NOT gate will turn false because the input is true. That becomes false. If we were to pause the game and we'll swap these around. Just makes life easier there. Now this is full and that was empty, and the logic block doesn't actually link to a building, it links to a square on the grid. So even if you move buildings, it will still read that building there. So this is still firing false because obviously this is reading anything there. If we were to open that and then close it again, that will read false. Ignore the top one here. It's reading false because this is true. It is detecting stone is in here. We open it up, as soon as stone, he wants to say it leaves here. Hold on. I think actually that might still be reading that building there. Yes, yes it is. Okay, so I take that back. I believed when you set the offsets, they were set to a block, not a building. Now, I've still got a yellow line there saying it's this building here, but it's clearly reading this top one here because I swapped them around. So, that's something I've learned today. If you obviously do anything like that, you have to rechange the link to make sure it's working. So, that's still... Okay, let me... move the offset to there. Move it back to that block there. Well, I am confused because that... Oh, it is working now. Sorry, I was misreading things because there's top one here. Let me remove that top one there so I'm not confusing myself. You see, every time a block goes in here, this is triggering. It's only triggering once though. So it's reading that is true, and because it's true, it's saying this is false. And then as it switches to false, you'll see the actual Bool function is the opposite to the logic gate. So this is reading true, even though it should be reading false because there is no stone in here. I'm going to delete that logic block and put it in again. I think I broke it by moving the building, the inventory sensor. Sorry. I think yeah. I think something went wrong there. So we'll link it to that. We'll link it to that. Okay. There we go. There we go. That's what I was expecting to happen here. Okay. So yeah, if you link a block, an inventory sensor at least anyway, to a building and then move the building, it breaks. So, okay. Right. Slight hiccup there, but anyway, it's good that I spotted that. I've never had that issue before, probably because I never moved the building that was linked to logic. Maybe I have and never noticed it. Anyway, if I close this barrier gate here, this will start filling up with goods. And it's filled up. So because it has stone in it, we know the signal is true. The lamp has come on, so it's true. And the NOT gate is false because it's inverted. The NOT gate basically inverts the signals. If we were to build a second one of these here, we'll say to that one there and do stone. I think this is where it gets a little confused because it tries to read the last input. I believe, see, this is now both true. If we open that one up, this will become false. And it's still false, even though that one is... This one is false. And because this triggered, it would have made this true. But then this one triggered and made it false. So it doesn't really work with two inputs, the NOT gate. It's more designed as an inverter. So you can say... because when these detect something, they're always true. That will change it to false. So that's what it's designed for. It's designed as an invert. The NOT gate is an inverted function, really. Hopefully that's clear as mud, because I'm not very good at explaining these one here. The NAND gate, or the N AND gate, is the same as the AND gate, but the opposite, I believe, is the best sort of way to determine that. Basically, if we rebuild the same system we had here again, what happened there? And we link that to there, and then link it to the Bool function to that. And we want to change this to the N AND gate. And we'll offset that one to that building there, set it to stone so we know what we're doing. And link it to that and link it to that. So there we go. So we've got the same function up here. Now, you remember the AND gate that was here basically needed both inputs to be true in order for it to be true. The N AND gate is the opposite. If both inputs are true, it will trigger false. And if any one is false, it will trigger true. So if we let this go, you'll see they've gone in there and it's turned on. It's turned on and opened. But because now we have a stone in here, pause at just the right time, we have a stone in here, which means that this one is true. And we have stone in this one, which means that this one is true. You'll see the gate is now false. So it closes it. If both inputs are true, the output is false. If any input is false, the output is true. That's why you see this triggering backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. If we close this gate here, we get it to toggle permanently there. So yeah, that's basically the AND. The N AND gate is the opposite to the AND gate. Once again, if both, or if you've got 10 inputs, if all the inputs are true, then it will output false. If any of them are false, it will output true. Okay. Again, you can see these on Wikipedia. They've got a lovely little input and output sort of signal here with an A and B they use. But with these logic gates, you can use 20 inputs if you want to. You probably never really would. You'd only have used 2 or 3, but no. Anyway, the XOR gate is the same as the OR gate, just opposite. Or the N OR gate. It only triggers true if both the inputs are false. So it's the opposite to the AND. Or sorry, it's the OR gate. It's the opposite to the OR gate. I'm getting myself confused there. The OR gate was basically, it would be true if any input was true. So the NOR gate will be false if any input is true. So you'll see here, these are true. So it's going to go false because one of them is true. And that top one is true there, so that's what it's going to do. If I could empty that really quickly without moving it, because I would end up breaking something, then you'll see, in fact, if I just set this one down to here as well, then it won't do anything. But if we do that, there we go. You see, it's triggering, see, both are false, so it's triggering true. And that's because it's not reading that there's anything in there, and as soon as it does read one in there, it triggers on and off, on and off. If we block this down, both are true, so it's reading false. If we then swap this one back to the top one, we know both of these are true, so it's going to stay as false. We empty one of these out, it becomes false because one of the input is true. It inverts the OR gate. If any on the OR gate, if any input is true, the output was true. On the NOR gate, if any input is true, the output is false. So it's exactly the same as the OR gate. There are situations where you'd use the NN gate and the NOR gate. Not very often, though, I'll be honest with you. Mostly it's the OR or the AND gate is the ones that you use. I don't think I've ever used the NOT gate, although I can think of situations where it might be useful. I should really build examples of how this would work, but I need to get onto the next blocks for that. But we will do. I'll build some examples with the rail system that I mainly use, but right now I'm just going to go through and explain it. So the XOR gate is the final one, and this is the one that always confuses me. For the output to be true, the inputs must be different, which is a little more confusing than it sounds. So in this situation we're in right now, we have one input true, one input false. That means that because you've got one input true, one input false, this would say it's true. Does that make sense? And if this one was true and that one was false, it would still be true. But if both were true, this would be false, and if both were false, this would be false. The only way for it to be true is for its inputs to be offset. I don't know how that works with multiple inputs. See, right now this is all going fine. So if we open this up here, you'll see this is going to be mostly triggering as false. Mostly triggering as true, sorry, because there's a difference here. But if we close that, both of these become true, that becomes false. Open that, then this will empty, and because this is empty, then now one is true, one is false. It's become true. So it must have different inputs. Now, as I said, I'm not really sure how this works with 3 inputs or more. I'm going to link that to there, link to there, link to there. So this one and that one are exactly the same all the time. Okay, so it's firing off there. So it seems to be firing as false all the time, but we know that, there you go, that's become true. So both its inputs are true. All three of its inputs are true, and it's become false. Open that and let this go down to run out. One is false. They are true. Ah, so my guess would be for this to be showing true, one must be true, and it must have one true input and one false input. So we can have as many as you like, as long as one of them is false and one of them is true, it will fire. And I can test that by switching this over to that one there. Then we'll block this down here, ba-bomb. Okay, and then they're all firing because both of these are true. We'll open up the gate here, this will become false. And, oh no, it hasn't. It has actually not done what I expected there. So most are false, so it's become true. Again, this may be one of those logic blocks like the NOT gate, that it doesn't really work unless you only have two inputs to it. I'm definitely no expert on this, so I'm not sure, but my guess would be that if I remove those two there, it's going to all start working in when I shut that down, isn't it? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so I think the XOR gate will only work if you have an even number, so it must have the same number of true as false to trigger true, I guess. And test that. Let's test that right now, shall we? I'll link that, that's there, link that to there, set this to being stone, this to being stone, so we know what we're doing with. Okay, you are going to have an offset to that top one, so you are both exactly the same, and you are going to have an offset to that bottom one. So essentially this and this are both the same, and these and this are both the same. So if I open this up here, it's all true, it's all, I'll close that down there, it all becomes true, that becomes false. Open that up, these become false, that becomes true. So yeah, so it must have the same amount, and it is triggering red and blue, you see that there? So it must have the same amount of inputs, it must have an even amount of inputs, and if half are true and half are false, it will trigger true. So yeah, hopefully that one makes sense. These are essentially, the way that I found the Bool function is that the more you use it, the more you understand it, but it's very difficult to put in words how they exactly work unless you've used them a lot, and you'll be like, oh yeah, that makes sense and this makes sense, and that's all absolutely, you know, it works in your head. And yeah, but as I said, mainly you'll be using the AND and the OR gates for the logic blocks. Now the next block we want to get to, and I know I jumped ahead to the lamp there, but that's because the lamp, as I've said, the lamp is just simply, if it receives a true signal, it's on. If it receives a false signal, it's off. Just a visual indicator of what's going on there. You can make pretty numbers with it. You can even, some people have made clocks with it that work. It's way beyond me. But the next one is the agent trigger. Now the agent trigger is essentially exactly the same as the inventory sensor, but it's for agents. So if I put it up here, you see by default it's false rather than true like these ones are. And it's got an extra option here called a trigger. Let's also put down a minecart here. Now you will see some of these models have changed because there has been an update to the game. So not that I know when this video is going out, I may have done that in my main series or not, but if I haven't, then that's why. Not entirely sure what half these ones are now because they're even new to me. Okay, so we'll put a minecart down and he's going to happily drive around here. And let's grab a logistics slot with a pusher, and we'll set it to false, and we know we're just going to ignore that and drive around in circles. Okay, now the inventory trigger, as I said, is the same as the inventory, the agent trigger, sorry, is the same as the inventory sensor, but instead of detecting inventories on blocks or on belts, it detects them inside carts, minecarts, people, workers, I assume caravans as well. I don't know, I've not used caravans yet, I assume so. So we'll set the offset to being that block there. And in fact, I want two minecarts here, so I can explain how this works. We'll set it to that block there. So we're detecting this block here, and we're going to link it to the pusher, and we're going to say in the filter we want to detect stone because we have stone here. We have a rail stop for stone. Now in minecarts as well, if you want to filter them, filter both. I've had issues where the internal inventory filter, this one here, when you click on it, you'll set this to 1 and then it doesn't detect things properly. Then if you set this one, it does. And also I've had things vice versa. So my advice is, if you're ever setting a minecart up, just change both the item filter and the inventory filter. It's the best way to do it. And we'll set this one to wood. In fact, no, we won't. We'll set it to water. The reason I set it to water is because I've got another block here with water, so we can show you how that works. Okay, and we'll grab a couple of silos. Bum, 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 oh, that way around. With row stops there, and I will filter the silos so I don't end up confusing either of them. Not that I want both up there, but this is just demonstration purposes. Now this is going to go around and you're going to collect stone and you're going to collect water. So we'll let them pick up some water and stone. Boom. And you'll see what happened there. Oh, this one went up, but this one didn't. Oh, how did that work? Well, that's because the agent trigger is doing exactly what it says. It is detecting an agent in this block, in this case the minecart. And it's asking the minecart, what have you got inside you? Or, more importantly, what are you filtered to get? Because it even works when they don't have something inside them, when they're completely empty. It will work. I can show you that actually, we've got there. And because it's true, it's saying, hey, pusher, which I'm linked to, or any object that I'm linked to, is true. So pusher, push that cart up there. But then when the water cart comes along, he will enter this block because we've got it currently set to enter. He'll enter this block and it will become false. And false basically means that, well, you know, I'm looking for stone. You haven't got stone, you've got water, so it's false. Turn the pusher off, water cart carries on, everything's happy. Now, you can change the trigger from enter to exit, and what that basically means is that on enter, when a cart enters this square here, it will trigger. Exit means when it exits that one there, it will trigger. Now, I don't know many cases where exit's better than enter. There are some. One I can think of is my little thing here. I think I've got both of these actually set to enter. Yeah, they're all set to enter at the moment, but you can have it so that you're dealing with that one, you're dealing with that one. So yeah, so this one here, which links to an agent trigger, which links to a toggle, sorry. You will say when this minecart enters this block here, then you're going to set this to open. You'll see, if I fire this here, you'll see, when this minecart crossed this threshold here, which is detected by that one there, it entered this barrier gate block here. And because it did, it told this trigger to shut the gate to stop this minecart from blocking it and crashing into it. Then as it drives around, it enters this block here, I believe. Yep, and because it's true, it will then go, well, hey, because we've entered the block here, we know this cart is off this track, so open the gate, let this cart go, which is fantastic. In some situations, you may want it so that as soon as the train or a train exits a crossroads, for instance, then you want to open the gates. And you can toggle the gates either way to that. Very useful if you actually have a crossroad somewhere and you don't want the carts crashing into each other. Not that they actually ever do, but it just looks better for doing it. So let me actually show you an example of that I can think of. We'll build a loop. I'll show you what I mean. Do a nice dead simple loop. Made very badly there. I forgot how corners work on trains for a minute. So we've got a crossroads here, and we've got a crossroads there. Don't worry about that crossroads for a minute, we'll ignore that. What we can do is, if you can imagine a railroad crossing in real life, you have barriers either side, So one will be a road, one will be the train track. You have barriers that stop the carts coming, or stop the cars coming across the train track when a train is on the road on it. You can't do that in this game, unfortunately. You can't put paths over train tracks, but this is a situation you can have sort of here. So we'll open these two to say, hey, train, you can go through. Yeah, in fact, yeah, train, you can go through. We don't actually need these M1s now. Now I think about it. Anyway, that's what we need. We need a one there and one there. And all we need to do is set up an agent trigger, or set up two of them, I should say. We'll need one there and one there. So this one will be set to there, and this one will be set to exit the same block. And you'll see I'll show you what I mean in a minute. And what we want to do is we want to say, as soon as the train enters this block here, we want to shut both barrier gates. And as soon as the train exits, we want to open both barrier gates. So when a train enters with no filter, they're going to become true. So we want to invert that. Now this is a function for, this is a job for our Bool function, isn't it? That we've just gone through. So we want to use our not gate. Boom. Run that into that. Then run that to that one and that to that one. And then this trigger, we just want to run to that one and that one. Okay. Now that was very quick of me, and I realised that, but I'll go over it once I've tested it's actually working, because I know what I'm like. I'm very good at getting things wrong. Okay, so yeah, there we go. You'll see that. I'll slow it down as well. Boom. So the car has entered the block. It's just entered the block there, and this has become true. And because it's become true, it should open both these barriers. But because we're running it through a nut gate, it closes them. So that means when this minecart comes along, if it was at this point here, it would get blocked by the barrier gate. However, once the minecart exits one, which it does here, you'll see it's just exiting this block right here. It's opened the gates because this has now become true, because a minecart has exited the area, so it's opened both the gates. And it fires it every time it goes around. It's a little bit quick, if I'm honest with you. But you get what I mean by that. This is where I'm trying to explain the exit function. I've gone right off on a tangent here, but you understand what this means here. When a minecart enters the block, close both the gates, and when it exits the blocks, open both the gates. It doesn't particularly matter because minecarts can't actually crash into each other. One will just stop for another one. So yeah, it looks good. I must admit, it does look very realistic. If you actually had minecart trains going on, then obviously every time they go along, it would work that way. So yeah, that's essentially the difference between enter and exit, and where it could be useful there in a situation. I've got completely off tangent here, so let me show you what I mean here by the other way around. So we've emptied this storage out of stone. So we're going to change these around to be outputs. Output. Oh, no, don't link them. Then this is going to be an input. And this is going to be an input. Okay. So he's picked up stone from this silo. Here. He has stone on him. Now he's going to drop off the stone there. Oh, no, he's not. He's not. He's not going to drop off a stone there because I messed up. Hold on. There we go. Right. Okay. Now we set that to an input. And if I actually filter these, big thing, remember to filter your barns and your storage silos and crates and things like that, because if you don't filter them, that happens. You end up getting the wrong resources dropped in the wrong places, and it mucks everything up. Okay, so take two. Here we go. This minecart has stone in it. You're going to go here, and he is now empty. Now, this trigger is looking for stone. But you'll see here it's triggered. Because this has an inventory of stone and a filter of stone, I don't know which one it reads, which is why I suggest you do both of them, because said The inventory sensors tend to do the inventory, and the agent, I think, do the filters. Do both, it's easier. But it's set to true because it's detected that this is supposed to get stone. And because it's true, it's going to send him up here to pick up the stone. But the water one, which is empty now because we're dropping it off there, is false because it's not looking for stone. It's looking for water. So this agent trigger treats the minecart as if it had water on it. And it's false. So you can send him up there to pick up the stone and come back again. Now, this is another really good situation where our friend the Bool function comes in. If I unlink you from that pusher and turn the pusher back off again, just so we don't muck anything up, you'll see now our carts just go round and round in circles. And there. He's still changing, but he's not firing the pusher off at all anymore. If we were to grab a Bool function, put it there, and we'll grab an inventory sensor, like so. I'm going to grab a couple of lamps as well so I can visually show you what this does. It's just easier to see when the lamps turn blue, you know which one's true and false. They do turn colours, but sometimes it's hard to see. We're going to set you to stone again because that's what we know. The agent triggers don't show their filter on top of them. I'm not sure why that is. I think they should, but they don't. So what we're going to do is we are going to say agent trigger is going to go to the Bool function. And the Bool function is going to be set to an AND gate. So both must be true for this to work. The Bool function is going to link to that pusher. And the inventory sensor is going to link to the Bool function, but also be linked to this silo here. And I've just realized I actually want to put in another Bool function. This is becoming a bit more complicated than I expected. But I want this to be the NOT gate because I want it to be inverted. So we'll unlink from the Bool, link to the NOT function, and then the NOT function will link to the Bool function. So we've got Bool function to a Bool function to a gate. So let me explain what's going on here rather than go over it very quickly like I did the other one. The agent trigger will detect what cart is here. So when it's water, it will be false. When it's stone, it will be true. So there's one half of a function is true. The inventory sensor will detect whether this has stone in it. If it does have stone in it, then it's going to be true, but the NOT function will change it to false, which means it will come across as false. Because the Bool function is an AND gate, one's true, one's false, it will be false. Don't send the cart up there to get any more stone. Because we don't need any. This already has stone in it. There's no point in getting any more. If we, however, turn that off there, you will see, oh, and I need to remove these down here because they're interfering. You'll see, this is all triggering as false, false, false all the time here. And this one's going false, then true, then false, then true. I do believe as well, I'm not sure, let me just add another cart onto this here. Yep, even if you don't have the filter set up, and this does have a filter on it, it will read a blank minecart as blank. It will just go, nope, there's nothing in there, it's not stone. I'm specifically looking for stone, so that is false. Okay, and so as this empties out here, we will get to a situation where it runs out. So we're one stone away. Boom, there we go, it's run out now. So this is triggered to true, because this no longer has stone in it, so we want stone. We need to get stone from somewhere else and bring it down. So our minecart comes along, he enters the block, this is true, the pusher is now true. Let's go up and get some stone. Triggers back to false here because you're a none, and will trigger false for the water one because you're a none here. And you'll see there, that's what I mean by that. The cart, if another cart's on the way, it will just stop. That's it. The only situation where that does become a problem is if you've got multiple tracks coming off. If the way is blocked, he will just pick the next route. So if I had another track coming off this way, he will go down that route if that road is blocked. So keep that in mind if you're building very complicated rail systems. So yeah. So what I want to do is I want to shut this gate again here, because he's going to drop off 20 stone into here, which will trigger this to become false again. So this is all turned off again. And we'll empty 3 of them out of there. But because this does have stone in it, because we've not used all the stone for whatever we're using it for, this is all false, because this function here is now false. It's now going, hey, you do have stone in you. So invert it to being a false function. So the pusher's turned off, so we're not going to go and get any more stone. So our carts will just drive around in circles going, no, we don't need any more stone. That's absolutely fine. Don't worry about it. And again, if we open the gate up there, as soon as this runs out of stone, this will then switch over to going, well, hey, actually, we need more stone now. So, system, I need stone. Wait for the stone cart to come along. And you'll see there, it stopped working. Now, why did it stop working? Well, that is because this is stone. It enters the block here, and it turns this to true. But behind it, within one block, very, very close, half a block away, is a water cart. And the water cart goes, well, I'm not stone, I'm water, so I obviously want to go, I don't want to turn the pusher off. This could be a good situation for the exit, so as soon as you start leaving this square, if you are stone, turn that on. I think this will work. Yep, there you go, and it turns the cart off there. So that's a good situation where the actual exit function is useful. You see now you're going true, which is very surprising because no, you are going true because you don't have any stone in there. So it's going, we need more stone. There is no more stone. So now this one cart is going to constantly go up this road to get to where it's going to. In this situation, this works very well because as soon as the cart starts exiting, it triggers this, and it's true. With the other situation where I had it enter, if a cart was on this pusher when it triggered enter, I think it may push it up. So actually having that as an exit is probably a better way of doing this. You'll see now this cart always goes up there looking for stone, but there is no stone because we don't have any. It's all down here. So we're going to be asking for stone for a very long time. Again, that's a very useful situation. I've used this personally when I have things like my pastures in a different place, or my farms with grain. That's a very good one. You can have a pasture going, I want animal feed. You have animal feed somewhere else. So we could say down here, this silo could be animal feed, and we've got some animal feed up here. But because it's got multiple places to drop the animal feed off, you're going, well, I don't want to have each and every silo full of the animal feed. I want to spread it out between them. So if the first silo wants animal feed, or we have an OR function, if any silo wants animal feed, we'll turn on this pusher to go and get animal feed. So we'll check whether the cart's animal feed, and we'll check whether any of these are on OR. So you'd have, instead of the Bool function, the not, you'd have an OR gate. If any of them are true, then this will go true. Hey, off you go, up you go, get what you want. And then you'd have another set of logic set up for the train stops, going like, well, hey, actually, if I've got something inside me, turn off my train stop because I don't need it now. So the next silo along will get it. I can actually show you that here, I think. Let's move this out the way. There we go, like that. And we'll shut that down there. And we'll make a copy of that there, and we'll set it to stone just to make sure I don't get anything terribly wrong. And well, what I'll do is I will grab this up to here, and I'll let the cart go by first so we don't end up confusing anything. And right, what will happen in this situation is, obviously this will go, is this is this cart a stone cart? If it is, and this inventory has stone in it, then doesn't have stone in it, then say true and off you go. We want to check two inventories. So instead of having the not gate here, I think we will have a Bool function. We'll have an OR function. So let's remove that one, and we'll put in another Bool function there, and it's set to OR. And I'm going to move these down to here, just for convenience sake. Yeah. So you are going to be checking that inventory, and you are going to be checking that inventory for stone and for stone. Now we want to link that to the OR function, and link you to the OR function. And in fact, we do want to invert this. If any are true, we want this to be false. don't we? Now we could put a NOT gate in between the two, or you can use the other feature, which I'm just going to have a look up here. I can't remember which one it is because my logic fails me dramatically. It's the N OR gate, isn't it? The N OR gate. No, the N OR gate is if one is true, send all true, and the N OR gate is if one is false, send all false. We don't want that. We want if one is false, then send true. Right. What is that one? What is the one is false? N OR gate is false and false is true, or if any is true, it will say false. Oh yeah. So no, I'm confusing myself here. Hold on, sorry. If any of these are true, which they will be true because it will detect stone inside there, we want them to send a false signal to this OR gate. So we do in fact need to just invert the output function of this. So if any of these are true, it'll say true. Bear with me just a moment. Let me. I'll hang on. I can do it on camera because then you can see exactly how I do things. Not a very good tutorial, this one. Sorry about that, but you'll see my process here of how I set this up. So what we want to do is we want to say if this silo or this silo wants stone, we want to get stone from there. So this wants to basically be if this inventory is false. Then, well, at the moment it's saying if this inventory is true, we're going to send a Bool function to there saying true. So we couldn't invert the Bool function because if this one was empty and that one was full, it would send an OR gate saying, hey, that's not right. So what we want then is we want the opposite to an AND gate, don't we? Yeah. We want the N AND gate, which basically means that the AND gate, which is what we got here, is if this and this is true, then send true. The N AND gate is that if any of these are false, send true, and then if they all become true, send false. So that will work. So we link that to there. He says very confidently, not being very confident about this because I'm not entirely sure this is actually going to work. So we'll do that and we'll go along, and there we go. Right, so these triggered because when a rail stop goes along there, it tries to put nothing inside them because there's something there. And you see here, this is false, this is false. So these are both true. I should put in some lights as well, shouldn't I, for this, just so you can see where we're getting at here. I'll link them that way. Okay. And you'll see he's going to go up there. He's going to get. I'm going to actually take him off there because I want to show you this here. See, they're both firing false because these are empty. Yeah, so they're both firing false. False and false means true here because this is an N AND gate. Sorry about the confusion. Now I was confusing myself in the process. You'll come along. You're picking up stone. Down. Boom. There we go. So you're now saying true because, hey, I've got some stone inside me. And I'm going to actually turn that around so it stops, doesn't output at all. And yeah, you're saying true because I've got some output for me. But because this one is false, the N AND gate goes, well, that's not correct. They're not all saying true. And until they all say true, then I'm going to say true. And when they all say true, I'm going to say false. So that'll work. That'll send a cart up there to pick up stone and come along. But the problem with this is that when the cart comes along, he's going to drop it off in this one here. And it's going to wait until this one is full before moving on to the next one. We don't want that. We want to spread them out, don't we? So this has got something inside it. So we can do that with another function. So if I put one there and one there, and we're going to change this to the NOT gate, which, as we know, inverts the signal. NOT gate, NOT gate. Anyway, and what we'll do is we will link the inventory sensor to the gate on either side, and then the logic gate, the Bool function, sorry, the NOT gate to the rail. And that won't actually, it will trigger when this cart goes by. It will fire off this rail stop, and this rail stop will go, hey, inventory, yep, we got stone, so the lamp will become true, and this will become true, but because this is an AND gate, one is false, so it doesn't matter. And the NOT gate will invert the signal and make it false, turning off the rail stop, like so. And because the rail stop is now turned off, you can't dump your stuff in this one, so you're going to dump it in that one. Boom. Now this one has got 20 and this one's got 19 because we let one go. You'll see both of these are true because we have stone. This is now set to false because the AND gate will basically read true, true, meaning false. And then our carts will just go round and round in circles and we'll never go up and get any more stone. When one of these empties out of stone, like so, boom, there we go. You are false. You have turned on the rail stop because this is now inverted here. This has become true because one of them's set to wrong. The minecart enters or exits the block, and this becomes true, and it will go up and pick up some more stuff and come back down again and drop it in there, and that will turn it off again, and round and round and round it goes in circles basically. And every time this empties out, it will then go, hey, we need to get some more, so it will go and grab some more, drop it off again, but it won't do it every single time. So you're not, if for instance we'll move this out of the way here, we'll say this is, I don't know, a stonemason down here for instance, and he's full, he can't put any more stone bricks out, so he doesn't need any more stone. The belt fills up, this still has stone in it, so there's no point in grabbing more stone because there's no point in bringing any more stone down here at the moment. We could fill the silos up, that's a math block, we'll get to that later maybe, and we could do that. But the idea behind this would be that the first cart with stone will drop it in the first silo, and then next time round he goes along, he won't drop it in that one, he'll drop it in the next one. It spreads the load, and you can have this run as long as you like. You just keep adding the logic to it. There are better ways to do this with math blocks. Again, you can shrink down a lot of this with math blocks, but that's a, it looks complicated, but hopefully you've seen what I've done with it. I'll go over it one more time, and I think actually I'll cut this short here, and then we'll do the rest of the logic in another one there, because I've been rambling on for an hour and this is supposed to be a very short tutorial. Yeah, but if you watch me, you know I ramble all the time. Anyway, so what do we got here? Yes, the agent trigger, as I said, detects this block here. When a cart empty exits, it detects whether the cart is designed for stone. If it is designed for stone, it says true. So that one was false, that one was false, this one was true, that one's true, sorry. So it detects whether it's a stone cart, it says true, and that would turn on one function, the Bool function. Bool function being an AND function means it needs both inputs to be true in order to put an output as true. So just because this one's true doesn't mean the other one is as well. The inventory sensor, which is not the agent trigger, they're different things. The inventory sensor detects the inventory inside a building, and will then go, if it detects that there is inventory inside the building, it will send a true signal out. So it's turning on this lamp here. It's also saying to this AND gate that it's true. So I want you to be to send a true signal. But the AND gate is the inverted AND gate. It basically means that the AND gate means that if all inputs are true, I output true. The NAND gate means that if all inputs are true, I output false. Otherwise I output true. So it does the opposite. And because this is true and this is true, both of them are false, because that's going to. Also, this inventory sensor is linked a second time, or a third time even, to this Bool function, which is a NOT gate, which just inverts the true signal to false, turning off the rail stop. So hopefully that's clear. This is actually a different version of something I used in a playthrough previously, not our current playthrough, the one before that, where I had a pasture system set up with farms delivering things. I like this because it looks good. It looks very clean. It's complicated, but obviously this is in a small area, you can spread it out much bigger and have it going around. And it also lets you distribute goods evenly among things, so you haven't got to worry about one silo filling up before the next one comes along, which is for pastures a real pain, because your cows might be getting all the grain or the animal feed, and then your sheep aren't, because it's just always filling up the first silo. Of course, as soon as the first silo drops down by even 1 point, the carts will fill that up, and then they put, say, put 19 in the next one. So this one just evens it out a lot better. So yeah, hopefully that has made sense. Hopefully this one made sense. I'll go over this very fast. I'm sorry about that, and we will come back next time, and we'll go into some other ones here. The logic set block, logic pusher block, counter block, and number block are ones that I don't think I ever really use. I will go through and explain what they do. Obviously the lamp we've covered. I'll go through and explain what they do, but they're not really ones I use, to be honest with you. They do have their purposes, very useful. Math block is one I very, very much use. And then the signal gate, time block, and delta block are ones I don't think I've ever used. Time block I think I have. In fact, I know I've used timer gate, so yeah, I've used that one. But the delta block and signal gate, I don't think I've used them, and but we'll get to them. They all have their uses, they all have their functions, and they can all be implemented. Again, this is not an end-all way of doing things. There are better ways and cleaner ways of doing this, and more complicated ways of doing things as well. But hopefully this gives you the basics. You understand kind of what's going on with it, and you can start implementing some lovely logic and compute blocks in your own games. So yes, thank you for watching, and hope you learned something, and as always, have fun.